Hey guys, it's Candace the Edgy Veg, and welcome back to another episode of turning something into something else. Summertime is hopefully coming very, very soon. I live in Canada, you guys know this, it's cold here, but lately I'm kind of over all the really hearty, more warm dishes, and I wanted to make something really fresh and light that kind of reminds me of the summer that I'm dreaming of and longing to come. So I thought we would try to make some vegan ceviche today using a chayote. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I make new videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. So today I'm going to try and make a fish ceviche out of a chayote. Really what I'm doing is I'm making a ceviche inspired salad. So a chayote is technically it is a fruit. It is from Mexico. It's kind of like if you were to take a cucumber and a potato and make them have a baby, you'd end up with this guy. I think it looks like a Muppet's mouth, like when Jim Henson has Muppets eat lemons. Well, I haven't really seen anyone do it, but I've read articles about different chefs using chayote to kind of mimic fish. So you can boil it, make it a little bit softer, cut it up, and then grill it and do like fish tacos. You can do ceviche with it. So that's what we're going to try and do. If you've never had ceviche, ceviche is originally a Peruvian fish dish where you take raw fish and you cook it in lime juice. Many different cultures now have ceviche, and there is an argument about where it comes from and which one is true, authentic ceviche. I'm going to dabble a little bit from each one with the chayote as our fish. So the first thing I'm going to do is boil these guys. And what that's going to do, it makes it a little bit softer. So right now, the way that it is, it's more fresh. It's more like a cucumber. If you boil it, it makes it a little bit softer. And then again, it kind of gives that like fishy-like texture. So we're gonna boil that, peel it, cut it into cubes, and then marinate it in lime, just like you would normal ceviche. All right, so I have water in here. I'm just gonna place the chayote in there. Oh, that's probably it. Wow, that is a lot of water. I'm gonna take some out. So I'm just gonna boil it for about 15 to 20 minutes. You want it to keep its structural integrity. So you just wanna be able to pierce it with a fork. You don't want it to be mushy, so definitely keep an eye on it, but I'm gonna bring it all to a boil at once. All right, so I have my boiled chayote here. It's fork tender. What I'm going to do is peel it and then cut it into cubes. There's going to be some seeds and stuff in here. You'll see in a second, and we'll get rid of that and put it into a large bowl. You're just gonna peel all the skin off. Some parts are going to be a bit more green, some are going to be a little bit lighter. Now you can also do this with raw chayote. It's just going to be more like a jicama. Okay, now I guess we just chop it. I'm just going to chop the end off. Let's see what that looks like. So it's kind of like a potato. It's exactly like if a potato and a cucumber had a baby. So there is one little, it's a seed. Cut it like that, and then you can take that guy out. But I can definitely see like why chefs would like to use it as like a fish substitute, because it does kind of have that shape, like if I was to cut it right through the middle. So we're just gonna take out any of the tough bits, the shell that comes with the seed, and then we're gonna chop it into cubes, just like you would any sort of fish that you would use for ceviche. So ceviche tends to be cubes. So we're gonna try and do thin cubes, maybe a little bit thinner than that, and put it into a bowl where eventually we are going to also have our lime juice. And you might be thinking, okay, where do I find a chayote? I actually found it at a pretty common grocery store. In Canada, we just call it Freshco. It's, they have one on in every major neighborhood. It's definitely available for you, depending on if you live in a big city or not. Sit. Harley, sit. Harley, sit. No? That's cool. To get a fishy flavor, what I'm going to do along with the lime juice is add some ground up seaweed. This is just ground nori sheets. Literally, I just buy nori sheets and grind them. You can use a food processor. I use my blender. If you have a spice grinder, you can use that as well. So I just add some of those. It's about like a teaspoon. And then I have a cup and a half of lime juice. Oh, you can already smell the ocean. You can let this sit for 3 to 4 hours. I like to do it overnight because with a lot of vegan, vegetarian recipes, the longer you let it sit, the more flavorful they become. So I'm just gonna set this aside and we'll come back to it in a couple hours. The other thing I like to add is a little bit of orange juice. This adds some sweetness to it. Some recipes have it, some recipes don't. So if you don't wanna use it or you don't think it's traditional, you don't have to. I also like to use a non-reactive bowl. So instead of a metal bowl, bowl, I'm using a glass bowl. So this has been sitting for a couple hours. The marinade that the chayote is sitting in is also going to become part of the sauce for the ceviche, or a ceviche inspired salad for those of you that want to get technical. So I'm just going to use a slotted spoon to scoop out all the chayote and put it in here. While I'm prepping everything else, I'm going to also kind of not pickle, but mute the taste of the onions a little bit. And what I'm going to do with that, or what I'm going to do that, is just take some of this lemon brine and put it into the onion mixture. Now you can even do this, you know, a day in advance when you're doing this at the same time, like when you are waiting for your chayote to marinate, you can do that. What it does is it takes out some of the astringency from the onions. This is a completely optional step. It's really up to you. If you love the taste of raw onion and you're like, yeah, raw onion's my jam, I like it just the way it is, you can leave that. Then we have our ingredients for our salad. Traditionally, the way that the Peruvians do it is really the fish, the onion, cilantro, and then some like chili. I don't really see any garlic in any of the recipes. What I'm going to do is make a more like Mexican inspired ceviche, just because this is how I like to make it. So what I'm including is mango, some corn, cilantro, jalapeno peppers, radish, which is so good with all these other flavors, and tomato. And it's really simple. It's like throwing together any other salad. We are just going to drain the chayote, put it in here, toss all the ingredients together, add a little bit of olive oil for a nice mouthfeel, and we're good to go. All right, so I'm just using my slotted spoon and draining them. Like I said, the size of these guys is really up to you. See how it's a little bit yellow, a little bit white? If you want to get super picky, you can just cut the white parts in. So now I'm just going to add the rest of the ingredients. So I'll start with just some corn. I like to use mango just because it adds a nice depth of flavor. It adds a sweetness and tanginess to the already, well, it's already tangy because of the lime, but it adds like a nice sweet balance. Lime and mango just are so delicious together. For some heat, I'm adding some jalapeno. The amount is really up to you. I've decided to just seed it so that it's not as spicy, so that it kind of feeds, you know, a crowd. Cilantro is an absolute must-have. You can also do this with parsley, but cilantro is just the way that I prefer to do it. And then we have our radishes, which we don't really see a lot of, like when we're cooking. And then tomatoes are not traditionally used, I don't believe, but I've seen, you know, Argentinian ceviche, Mexican ceviche, even some Peruvian ceviche with tomatoes. And I just feel like it adds just a nice color to the palette. So in a lot of traditional recipes, I've seen white onion used. I just prefer the flavor of a red onion in this type of dish. I'm just going to do this with my hands because it is quite delicate, and then give it a good toss. And then to really balance out all the tang from the lime marinade and the mango, I like to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil, just to give that nice mouthfeel. And you can do 1 to 2 tablespoons. And at this point, you can salt it as well. I'm gonna wash my hands, then we're gonna cut some avocado. All right, tip number 1, always get 2 avocados in case one sucks, because chances are one of them probably will. It's like you have a 50-50 chance of it being a good avocado. Yep, see, called it. And again, the avocado is completely optional, but I do love the, oh, look at that beauty. I like the creaminess that it adds to the dish. So you have, you know, nice crisp freshness, and then you have this nice creamy texture as well. Fun fact, I recently taught my mother, who's been using avocado for years, how to do this with an avocado. She was cutting it in half, like also this, ripping the skin off and then slicing it. And she was doing it with like not ripe avocado. So recently when I was visiting her, I saw her doing that and I was like, no. So I'm just going to gently toss that in. All right, and now we are going to serve it. So I like to serve it with tortilla chips or crackers. You can also serve it with some lettuce on the side, and you can do like a lettuce wrap. Traditionally, it is like a saltine or a tortilla chip or some sort of favorite cracker of yours. A lot of the time when I've been on trips, they use like those like really buttery, almost Ritz crackers type crackers. So let's get this plated and give it a try. There you guys have it, a vegan ceviche made out of chayote, also known as a vegetable pear, or just, you know, if you really want to get technical, it's a ceviche inspired salad. I am going to eat this with a chip, I think. So you can turn it into like a little, you know, a little lettuce boat, but more traditionally it's eaten with crackers or chips. So that's how I'm going to do it. And try and get a little bit of everything. Nope, okay, bye. And give it a crunch. It's so good. And then with the corn, which is sweet, with the mango that's kind of sweet and tangy, with the bitterness of the radish, like it's so good. I could definitely see this being marinated like this and then grilled. It would make such a good dish. Oh my God.
It looks just like a cucumber.
Right? It's still kind of cucumbery, but like...
It smells like lime. Mmm.
Right? It's weird. It tastes nothing like it did before the lime, but then it's limey, but like not.
Yeah, on like a tostadas or something.
There you go.
Tacos, yeah, definitely cooked. Would be cool.
Like grilled. So good. You can even probably boil it a little bit more and then it's softer, but this is really good. I would definitely use this again to kind of mimic fish.
For sure.
Oh, there's tiny little doggies running around. Come here. Do you want some? Just kidding. All right, guys, make this recipe and we will see you next week. Bye.